Welcome back to Likes Purana. We have successfully finished the sessions on the society and the sessions on the geography. And with the kind of response we have got, now we are moving on forward with the last section of your GS1, that is the history section. And when you look at this particular section, most of you are in an apprehension that history is a difficult subject to write. History will demand a lot of memorization. There is no analysis in the history. It is only rote learning that you are supposed to undergo in history. Now you need to understand, my dear. When you look at this particular questioning pattern of history in GS1, you would see that it is majorly analytical in nature. Although what happens is, it might appear that the history syllabus is huge, humongous for you to cover and for you to crystallize the knowledge that you have studied. But you need to understand that there are certain hotspots that are emphasized categorically every year from this history as a section in GS1. Those have to be identified. In the future classes of this history session, which are going to be around 8 or 9, we are going to emphasize on those hotspots. And once you are able to emphasize on those hotspots, it is very, very easy for you to crystallize the knowledge. Right? And here, another major issue that you generally face is, sir, what should be the way of note making when you talk about history as a subject? And when you talk about the note making of history as a subject, you need to fundamentally understand that in the sections of ancient India, in the sections of medieval India, one common thing that you come across is you would have a number of kingdoms that are present. You would have multiple kingdoms that are present. And when you have this number of kingdoms, or when you have these multiple kingdoms present, you know that automatically there is a culture, there is an art, there is an architecture which is inherent with respect to the administration of that kingdom. That has to be remembered. And whenever you are making notes, there can be two sections that can be asked. There can be two ways of asking a question from this particular section. One, it is either on the administration. It is either on the administration. And when you look at the administration, you know that there are different kinds of administration that is generally done by a particular kingdom. And when you look at this, it can be the central administration. It can be the provincial administration. It can be revenue administration. Right? It can be judicial administration. It can be the military administration. So whenever you are making any kingdom, or whenever you are making any notes on the kingdom, or whenever you are studying any kingdom, this is one way of studying it. That what is their administrative setup? That administrative setup may be central, that administrative setup may be provincial, it might be revenue, it might be judicial, it might be military. And once you discuss these aspects, the second thing that you know, that not only the administrative aspect, they would also have the cultural aspect. And when you look at the cultural aspect, one major thing that you need to emphasize upon is, what is their art, the status of the art. That might be with respect to the music, that might be with respect to the dance, that might be with respect to the painting, or that might be even with respect to the sculpture. And once you are able to understand this, then we would be able to understand the architecture element. The architecture element, that is, it might be the temple architecture, it might be the composite architecture, or it might be the Islamic architecture, or it might be the Indo-Islamic architecture. And most of these architectures, majorly it is either your cave structures, either your structural temple structures. Right? When you look at kingdoms like Pallavas, when you look at kingdoms like Cholas, when you look at kingdoms like Vijayanagara or Kakatiya, these kingdoms are very, very famous for their structural temples. And these things we have to understand. The architectural variation, the architectural types, and also with respect to the art aspect. And you would see definitely there is one question that is either asked from these sides. Then apart from that, you know that another section which is very, very important in this ancient or medieval one part you would see is with respect to your Indus Valley civilization, the Vedic cultures, the Indus Valley civilization, the Vedic cultures, and the categorically you need to emphasize upon the analytical aspects of the Indus Valley civilization and the Vedic cultures. Right? So this is one perspective that can be brought in with respect to your ancient and medieval in the context of note making. Trust me, my dear, the way if you read your history in this manner, especially with respect to your ancient and medieval, it is very, very easy to memorize. And once you have the information, it is very, very easy for you to analyze the question that has been asked in the respective pattern. And once you do that, then you would have your modern, because these are the general sections that you divide as an aspirant. You have modern section. And when you look at this modern India, you know that it has different phases with respect to the independence movement, with respect to the freedom struggle. Once you are able to decipher these phases, once you are able to decipher these different phases of freedom struggle, it is very, very easy for you to remember. Always remember that whenever you are reading the modern India, whenever you are trying to make notes upon modern India, go for clustering. Clustering of what, my dear? Clustering of various movements. Clustering of various movements. Now, once you are able to cluster these various movements, when you look at the questioning in the future series of history, you would see that most of the questions are asked in such manner. Most of the questions are asked in such manner. It is more of analysis, less of factual. That is what is the general observation that you would find when you see history as a section. Right? So, we are going to discuss the pattern of your previous year questions, and we are going to identify in history that what are the hotspot areas that are supposed to be remembered, that has to be emphasized, that has to be consolidated, and that has to be crystallized when you are writing an answer. Right? And when you talk about the various aspects when you are writing an answer with respect to the history, one thing is very, very definite, that you know that history is all about chronology. History is all about chronology. So, when you are writing the answer of your history, you need to remember that the chronology of the events has to be emphasized. They have to be emphasized, and you are supposed to write it in the same order of chronology. Then only it would make sense. Right? Because it is all history. It is all a temporal pattern of arrangement of various events. That is what is the chronology. Apart from this, we also need to see that one very, very important aspect is the substantiation. We should be able to substantiate that whatever event we are saying, whatever analysis we are saying, that we cannot say that Vijayanagara kingdom just gave a lot of importance for the culture. But we have to say that in what all aspects they have given the importance to the culture. For example, it might be the literature, or it might be the architecture, it might be the art, it might be the dance form evolution. All this portray that they have given an importance to the culture. So that way of substantiation has to be done whenever you are writing an history answer. That historical events have to be supported, historical occurrences have to be supported, historical establishments have to be supported. And most of you will be in an apprehension, should we write the historian's opinion? As general studies, you need to remember, you need not write the historian's opinion. It doesn't demand. It doesn't demand, but for an history optional individual, you would need to write the historian's opinion. But in the general studies, it doesn't demand. In general studies, it demands a definite levels of knowledge, a definite levels of chronology, and a corresponding analysis. Once you are able to do that, I think these two are the most important aspects whenever you are writing an answer in the history. Right? So, we will go forward with respect to discussing various previous year questions as part of the